On July 15, 2026, while one of the world's largest trade relationships was being pulled apart, another one was just switched on. The United States had just declined to renew its trade agreement with Canada and Mexico. Uncertainty. Annual reviews. A borrowed kind of certainty, as we called it a few weeks ago on this channel. On the very same week, India and the United Kingdom did the opposite. They signed one of the most comprehensive trade agreements either country has ever entered into. The British government itself called it, quote, the best deal any country has ever agreed with India. Two countries. Two directions. One pulling back from open trade. One leaning further in. Welcome to the money trail. Let us follow it. If this is your first time here, welcome. This channel is about one thing: connecting the dots between money, power, and the decisions that shape your world. No jargon. No agenda. Just clear research-backed analysis that tells you the story behind the money. Now let us get into it. First, what actually is this deal? CETA stands for the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. It was originally signed in London in July 2025. A companion Social Security Agreement was signed in February 2026. Both became legally operational on July 15, 2026. Unlike a lot of trade deals that focus narrowly on import duties, CETA is far broader. It touches goods, services, investment, government procurement, digital trade, intellectual property, professional mobility. It is closer to an economic partnership than a simple tariff-cutting exercise. And the scale of the tariff changes is genuinely significant. According to the British government's own policy paper, the UK has immediately eliminated tariffs on 96.8% of its tariff lines with India. That covers roughly 97.7% of total trade value between the two countries. India's side is more staged, but still substantial. India has eliminated tariffs immediately on around 64% of tariff lines, with a further 21% being phased out over time. Certain politically sensitive sectors, dairy, cereals, edible oils among them, remain outside the deal entirely. According to India's Ministry of Commerce, India exported roughly $13.4 billion in goods to the UK in the last financial year, while importing around $11.7 billion from UK. A meaningful trading relationship, and one this agreement is designed to grow substantially. So let us talk about what this actually changes for ordinary people. Starting with what gets cheaper in India. According to reporting on the deal's tariff schedule, duties are being reduced to zero on a wide range of British exports. Tariffs of up to 70% on processed foods, 21.5% on marine products, 18% on engineering goods and auto components, 16% on leather and footwear, 12% on textiles and garments, 8% on chemicals and pharmaceuticals. For Indian consumers, this shows up in very tangible places. Scotch whisky, British chocolates, cosmetics, biscuits, even British-made cars, though those come with tariff rate quotas rather than a full immediate cut. On the other side, in the United Kingdom, certain Indian goods become cheaper and more competitive too. Textiles, leather, footwear, marine products, gems and jewelry. These are labor-intensive sectors that directly translate into jobs across India's manufacturing base. There is one detail in this story that captures the whole dynamic perfectly. Wimbledon towels. The towels used by tennis stars at the Wimbledon Championships are manufactured in Gujarat, by an Indian company that acquired a heritage British textile brand years ago and shifted its production to India. Under the old tariff structure, that company faced a real cost disadvantage compared to competitors in Bangladesh and Pakistan when selling into the UK market. CETA removes that disadvantage. One small example. But it tells you exactly how this deal is meant to work, quietly shifting competitiveness in favor of Indian manufacturing across dozens of similar product categories. Now, tariffs on goods are only one half of this story. The other half, arguably the more consequential one, is services and people. The UK has opened access across more than 137 services subsectors under this agreement. One of the broadest services commitments UK has made in any trade deal. IT services, financial services, consultancy, healthcare, education, engineering, telecommunications. India's Commerce Minister said the agreement is expected to benefit over 75,000 professionals and more than 900 companies. And then there is the detail that may matter most to actual working professionals. Alongside the trade agreement, a companion Social Security Pact, known as the Double Contribution Convention, also took effect on the same day. It allows Indian workers moving to the UK on a temporary basis to avoid paying social security contributions in both countries at once, for up to 5 years. For an Indian professional posted to London for a few years, that is not a minor detail. It is real money staying in their pocket instead of being paid twice into two separate systems. So here is a fair question worth asking. Who actually got the better deal out of this? The British government's own language was not shy about it. Its policy paper called this, quote, the best deal that any country has ever agreed with India. And looking at the numbers, that framing has some real basis. The UK eliminated tariffs immediately on nearly 97% of its trade value with India. India's immediate elimination covered a smaller share of trade value, with a longer phased timeline for the rest, and several sensitive categories carved out entirely. But the calculation is more complicated than a simple percentage comparison. Consider India's export profile. India exported $40 billion in chemicals globally last year, but supplied under $1 billion of that to the UK specifically. In pharmaceuticals, India exported nearly $26 billion globally, but the UK accounted for only about $1 billion, roughly 3% of UK's pharmaceutical imports. In engineering goods, a similar pattern, $20 billion in global exports, less than $1 billion going to the UK, roughly 5% market share. In other words, India has historically undertraded with the UK relative to its overall export capacity in several major categories. Removing tariff barriers in those categories could unlock meaningfully more room for growth than the raw percentage figures alone suggest. So the honest answer is this. The UK secured more immediate, broader access. But India may have more raw headroom to grow into the agreement over time, precisely because it was starting from a smaller base in several key sectors. Now let us connect this back to the story we covered a few weeks ago. The United States just declined to renew the USMCA in its current form, choosing instead a decade of annual reviews, renegotiation risk, and what we call borrowed certainty. India and the UK, in the very same window, moved in the opposite direction entirely. Locking in broad, immediate tariff elimination, and building in customs facilitation measures designed to make trade faster and more predictable, including a commitment to clear compliant goods at the border within 48 hours. Two of the world's major economies choosing uncertainty. Two others choosing the opposite. That contrast is not an accident. It reflects two very different bets about where global trade is heading. One bet says, protect domestic industry, tighten control, accept short-term friction for long-term leverage. The other bet says, open faster, integrate deeper, compete for investment and market share while others hesitate. Neither bet is obviously right or wrong. But only one of them is currently being tested in real time, with real tariff cuts on real shipments starting this month. Now, no trade deal is without friction, and this one is no exception. Preferential tariffs under CETA are only available to goods that qualify as originating products under the agreement's rules of origin. The same kind of technical requirement that, as we discussed with USMCA, can make or break whether a business actually benefits from a tariff cut on paper. There is also a simple, practical point worth remembering. Tariffs being cut at the border does not automatically mean prices drop at the checkout counter the next day. The actual pass-through to consumers depends on supply chain adjustments, existing contracts, importer margins, and how quickly businesses choose to reprice. Some of that benefit may take months to show up. Some of it may never fully reach the shelf price at all. And several politically sensitive sectors were deliberately excluded from the start. Dairy, cereals, millets, edible oils, certain fruits and vegetables. A reminder that even the most ambitious trade agreements are still shaped by domestic political constraints on both sides. So why does a bilateral deal between India and the UK matter beyond those two countries? Because trade agreements are rarely just about the two signatories. They are signals to every other country watching. When the world's sixth largest economy and a major services and financial hub sign one of the most comprehensive trade agreements either has ever entered, other governments take notice. Other trade negotiators recalibrate their own timelines. Other businesses reassess where the next round of investment and market access might be easiest to secure. At a moment when the United States is actively adding friction to its largest trading relationships. Deals like this one are a quiet reminder that trade liberalization has not stopped globally. It has simply shifted, for now, to different corridors. So let us follow the trail one final time. Two major economies, moving in opposite directions, in the very same week. America choosing a decade of uncertainty over its largest trading partners. India and the UK choosing immediate, broad, structural integration over theirs. For Indian exporters in textiles, leather, marine goods, and engineering, new doors just opened. For British exporters of whiskey, chocolate, cosmetics, and cars, the same is true in reverse. And for the more than 75,000 professionals moving between the two countries, a little more of their income just stayed in their own pocket. None of that happened by accident. It happened because two governments made a deliberate bet that deeper trade integration is worth more than the short-term friction of getting there. That is the money trail behind the India-UK trade deal. And now you have followed it. If this video helped you understand why one trade story made headlines for falling apart, while another barely made headlines at all despite reshaping two economies, hit subscribe. Because every week, we follow a new trail. And there is always another trail waiting to be uncovered. I am the Money Trail. See you next week.